From the Pep Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are following at this hour. Republicans in Pennsylvania State Senate are poised to make another attempt at restricting transgender athletes in school sports, legislation that is likely to face a higher hurdle than before, but which may provide a political wedge issue depending on what polling you're looking at. An avalanche of bill memos were introduced this week in Harrisburg as Pennsylvania's legislative session officially rolled over into the 2025-2026 term. Notable among them for its number of co-sponsors was a memo signed by every female member of the Senate GOP, stating the intention to reintroduce a bill dubbed the Save Women's Sports Act. The legislation, first introduced in the 21-22 session, would create a legal cause for individuals to sue K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities if they allow transgender girls and women to compete in female sports. Earlier bills stated that educational institutions in Pennsylvania are not to allow those of the male sex to compete in athletics designated for the female sex, with sex defined as being based on reproductive biology and genetic makeup. Students who believe they have suffered harm due to an alleged violation of this rule are given explicit grounds for a civil suit, according to the 2021-2022 session bill text. It's imperative that we protect the opportunity for female athletes to compete on the athletic field in a fair and equal manner, the senators wrote in this week's memo. Allowing a biological male to compete on a woman's scholastic athletic team puts all women on the playing field at an automatic disadvantage. The Senate bill's language is identical to a House bill that passed both chambers of the state legislature 2 sessions ago, when both had Republican majorities, but was vetoed by then-Governor Tom Wolf, a Democrat. The terminology in the bills also matches that used by some conservative school boards, which have sought to limit participation by trans athletes. The bill does not state how school districts can insulate themselves from legal risk, nor does it specify exactly what reproductive biology and genetic standards should be established. In some other cases, conservative school boards have taken the latter term at face value and attempted to dictate what chromosomes athletes can have. Makes me wonder if school boards are genetic scientists and have the capacity to be able to pass such judgments to any sort of acceptable critical scientific standard. My guess is the number is really, really low. LGBTQ advocacy groups that have opposed such measures say the vague language is by design and view the bills as an attempt to intimidate school administrators into not making any accommodations for transgender students for fear of a lawsuit. The Charleston, South Carolina Post and Courier is reporting that Tim Jackson credits Uplift LGBTQ+ Youth Outreach Center with saving his son's life. Before Perci, age 15, began going to support sessions at the Spartanburg nonprofit for the queer and trans youth, his father said he was withdrawn from his experiences of being bullied by students when he started high school as a freshman. Classmates criticized his appearance and preferred pronouns. Tim Jackson said, so he started staying home from class more than he went. After speaking with a guidance counselor, Jackson enrolled Perci in a virtual program. He remains there as a sophomore. That decision was only solidified this year when South Carolina lawmakers enacted a new rule defining which restrooms students can use in public schools, and a new state law took effect that bans certain medical treatments for transgender youth. When that passed, the first thing he said to me was, see, Dad, they're not ever going to get me to go back to the building now. Jackson, who identifies as non-binary, said of the school bathroom restrictions. A lot more has happened in recent years. Public libraries and those in schools have pulled books with LGBTQ+ themes off shelves And a Charleston County School Board member even reportedly stated in public that he would carry a gun to the house of his child's teacher should they come out as transgender to the class. The stress of the 2024 presidential election only intensified those anxieties, bringing them back to a national stage where many parents and queer youth fear widespread actions could come after Donald Trump retakes office. Just a month before ballots were cast, Trump, during a campaign rally in New York City, told a crowd he would get transgender insanity the hell out of our schools. 2 days after the election, Jackson and his son stopped at local Quick Trip before Jackson got out to pump gas. Perci put his hand on his arm. He warned that they needed to check their surroundings and not split up. It was quite maddening, I guess, for me as his dad, Jackson said, to hear the fear in his voice. Ever since Jackson said Perci wants to draw less attention to the fact that he's transgender. He just wants to be a 15-year-old boy. The Trevor Project, a national nonprofit with a mission to end suicide among LGBTQ plus youth, reported an overall 700% increase in the volume of crisis calls, chats, and texts on November 6th compared to weeks prior. In September, the nonprofit published a study that reported an increase in suicide attempts among transgender and non-binary youth surveyed in states that enacted anti-transgender laws over a 5-year period. For more information about these stories or any others that we cover, please go to the PEP Radio page on the Pennsylvania Equality Project website, paequality.com. Be sure to download the Live 365 app to be able to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. That's the news at this hour. Now back to more music on PEP Radio.